Welcome to CED Office Hour Live. Welcome to the May 23rd, 2024 edition of CED Office Hour Live, where the Central State University's Community and Economic Development Team, also known as CED, brings you a weekly show to talk about all things CED. And before we get started, Eric, would you like to introduce yourself? He's one of our team members that is here today.
Oh, sure. Thank you, Amber. Eric Smith. I work for the Community Economic Development Unit as well, along with Amber, as a Program Extension Associate based out of Findlay in Northwest Ohio.
And I'm Amber Twitty. I am based in Cincinnati, Ohio. However, I serve the southern region, basically from the western border to the eastern border, the bottom third of the state. And so want to welcome you. But before we get into the topic today, we always like to start off with a baseline definition of community and economic development. So like diversity, it touches everything. And even though it's a small phrase, it's a mighty phrase, right? And so you can ask 10 different people and get 10 different answers. So I always like to have that common baseline established. So community and economic development looks at how we live, work, play, thrive, and navigate through all of those spaces, right? And so one end of the spectrum is the community and the economic development piece. And that's the affordable housing, building highways, building bike paths, walking paths, parks, buildings, any kind of physical development. On the other end of the spectrum is the people development, right? And so that's workforce development. I call it barrier busting, right? Getting people access to resources, helping people to overcome barriers to get to those resources, dealing with quality of life things, social service, professional, personal development. And then the connector between the two are agencies such as us at Central State University, the Montgomery County Office of Reentry, private sector businesses, local government, public businesses, all kinds of that kind of businesses that connect both the bookends of the CED spectrum. And basically this makes the world go round, right? And so as CED professionals, we look at that whole spectrum like systems engineers, and we say, hey, based on our bandwidth, based on community or individual need, based on agency needs, and based on our skill sets, what part of that system are we going to plug and play and make better? Now, the way that our CED team works here at Central State University Extension is that we work with you, the client, the individual, the agency, the community, whatever that group may be, and work with you to help you reach your goals, connect you to resources and things of that nature. And then we like to say we work ourselves out of a job, right? Because we have given you the tools to maintain and sustain whatever that aspirational goal is. And then we want to be your go-to. So when you get your next project, next idea, initiative, then you're calling us to help you reach that next project or activity or initiative goals. So that's kind of what that's kind of how we work in our values. And Ambrose has joined us. Ambrose, would you like to briefly introduce yourself? He is also part of our CED team.
Good afternoon. Ambrose Moses, extension educator in the Community and Economic Development program area and Southwest region, and my primary county is Franklin County. Glad to be here.
Thank you. And so the current series that we're doing is called Women in Reentry. And reentry is part of our core programming that we do on the CED team. And, and I wanted to do something around reentry. And I said, but I know some awesome women, they boss ladies, they're trailblazers in this space and been doing their thing for years. And so today I had reached out to Jamie in January and said, hey, would you be willing to come on the show and talk about some of the different things that you all are doing from the Montgomery County Office of Reentry. Now, Jamie, she has been in this space. We actually got to work together some and do some certification training together back like 10, 15 years ago. That time flies. When she was down here in Hamilton County. And I must say, in my work in this space from the extension standpoint, Montgomery County really is the leader in this space out of all 88 counties in Ohio. So I talk about you all when I'm out in Southeast Ohio. And so they're looking forward to actually doing some webinars with you guys to learn how to duplicate some of the things that you all are doing in those spaces. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Jamie to kick us off. And she's going to be focusing most of her conversation around supporting returning citizens to the workforce. But she also will be talking about some of the other initiatives and things that they do to empower returning citizens to be successful contributing members. And we will go from there. So Jamie, I'll turn it over to you and start off with you in January, kind of giving us a little bit about your background, how you got to this space. And you can even talk about how Montgomery County, we always talk about constant evaluation and making sure that you're relevant in the communities that you serve. And you all have gone through some organizational changes over the past year to ensure that. So feel free to mention and discuss that as well. So
I'm sorry,
it's your soapbox.
Can I cut in for just one moment before we start? Yes. I was trying to send the link to Amy Piner, but it's not letting me. Would you mind to send her a link
Sure.
so she could get in? Thank you.
Email me her email address and I'll send it to her.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Jamie.
All right. Amber, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me well?
We can hear you and we can see the PowerPoint clearly.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for the opportunity. As Amber said, my name is Jamie G. Currently, I'm the Community Reentry Manager of Montgomery County Office of Reentry. But in 2010, I was selected as the Managing Officer, the sole officer and manager of the Office of Reentry back in 2010. I have approximately 34, it'll be 35 years in this August, experience in corrections, parole, community reentry services in that arena. I began my career in criminal justice with the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction back in 1989. And have, pretty much dedicated my career to areas of criminal justice, areas in leadership, management. I possess an undergraduate degree, BA degree in criminal justice from Wilmington College, and I have an MBA from the University of Phoenix. And currently I serve as the Vice President of the Ohio Association of Local Reentry Coalitions. I'm also a current member of the Department of Youth Services Juvenile Reentry and Reintegration Advisory Committee. And I've previously served on, different advisory boards, such as like the Sinclair College Business Information Systems Advisory Committee, Greater Dayton Volunteer Lawyer Project, Dayton Mediation Center, and I'm currently on boards of Bow Believers Community Involvement Incorporated, NAMI of Montgomery County, and Montgomery County's Workforce Investment Board. So for the most part, consider my strengths in leveraging partnerships. And my commitment over these 35 years has been to addressing the holistic needs of returning and restored citizens through just effective resource optimization, coordinating services, networking, and advocacy. January, would you like to introduce yourself before we move through our supporting returning citizens to the workforce PowerPoint?
I will. My name is January Newport. I am a program coordinator with the Montgomery County Office of Reentry. I have been with the office for a little over 2 years now. I started in a chemical dependency field. I am a licensed chemical dependency counselor and a licensed social worker with an undergraduate in social work and working on a grad degree in social work currently. And my time with Reentry and ODRC actually began on the inside, and that is where my education, higher education, started as well in addiction services counseling, where I have an associate degree that I obtained through Sinclair's advanced job training program.
Thank you very much, January. So let's move into our topic for today, which is supporting returning citizens to the workforce. The Office of Reentry has, since inception, invested in people. It's that human capital that Amber mentioned a little bit earlier. But in supporting returning citizens, we have several strategies that we have developed over the years that we feel work. Our AAA philosophy is action, alliance, and accountability. So not only do we operate from that philosophy as an office, we encourage those that connect with our office for services to adopt that same philosophy. So not just talk about what needs to be done as far as moving forward and improving a quality of life, but putting forth that effort and that action towards just pouring into the investing in one's success, the alliance, that network that's necessary to connect and collaborate with those reentry providers across the county. We not only serve Montgomery County, but we also serve Preble, Green, Dark, and Miami counties as well. And that was through funding from the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. And so we truly believe in that alliance, ODRC being one of our major partners, and the third part of our AAA philosophy being that accountability, that personal responsibility to invest in what it is that we need to transform obstacles and opportunities. So I'm trying to move this. Let's see. All right, so I'd like to introduce our Montgomery County Office of Reentry team. You've already met January, referred to as Little Boss Lady. And so you got both of us today. You've got, actually 2 times the knowledge and expertise here. But I co-manage the office with Quinn Howard. Quinn Howard is our Reentry Program Manager. Myself, my scope is Reentry Community Management. Sterling Titus is our Reentry Program Coordinator. He also really focuses on our Eichelberger Prison Outreach Program, as well as January, building the bridge from prison to community. And Pedro Galinsky, our Volunteer Coordinator and Resource Navigator. Tina Mobley is our Administrative Specialist, and Monica Lofton is our Case Specialist. So we are a team of 7. When we opened our offices, we started off as a team of 3. Amy Piner being one of those program coordinators, along with Michael Ward and myself. But we've grown over the years, and we're building our capacity to serve. And we will be joining actually another reentry program coordinator will be joining us probably in the next couple of months. So we're looking forward to serve, and we thank for those who have committed to services that we provide and trusting us to serve them. So as we support citizens to the workforce, one of the things we highlight when we're speaking to our consumers is our mission. And our mission basically is really serving our community with those programs and services that minimizes barriers to reentry, effectively while promoting not only public safety, but also through the restoration of returning citizens. So with that mission statement, I already mentioned what our philosophy was, but we believe in transforming obstacles and opportunities, weaknesses into strengths, trials into triumphs for those that we serve. And so as that being our base, as we're supporting individuals through the workspace, through the workforce, we look at the fact that 1 in 6 Ohioans have a felony or misdemeanor conviction. And with that being said, since we're speaking economics, economic research really suggests that, Ohio alone is losing over $2 billion in gross domestic product annually due to otherwise qualified workers being excluded. And this is because of over-restrictive criminal record barriers. So that's a huge loss to the health of our economy. When we look at it from an equal opportunity, employment opportunity standpoint, when we're looking at providing second chances for returning citizens, the EEOC says an employer that considers, criminal records as they're making a choice whether to hire someone with a misdemeanor, a felony, or some level of criminal background should assess whether the record is irrelevant to that job. So an employer can, they can assess that relevance of a person's criminal history and really how it relates to the risk and responsibilities of that job. So employers should really consider, and these points are the nature and the seriousness of the offense and the crime that has been committed, the time in which that has passed since that criminal offense or the completion of a sentence, and the nature of the job. Now, in the Office of Reentry, one of the things we truly believe in, when we would like for those out there, you may be on this call, or for those that are in the community that are seeking to provide second chances, is that we encourage employers to consider a potential candidate's commitment to change. So not only those things that we talked about, the serious nature of the offense, how long it's been since the offense was committed, since the sentence, on the nature of the job, but also to consider the commitment level. Here you see one of our wonderful photographs from our last graduation. Well, actually, our last graduation was this morning. So this was the graduation we had during Second Chance Month. In the month of April 2024, our clients graduated at the Day Air Ballpark here in downtown Dayton. And you'll see one of our keynote speakers was Marty Brenneman from Cincinnati, a former announcer of the Cincinnati Reds. So we had a wonderful time at this event. Also in this picture, also photoed in this that's listed in this picture to the left is Mr. Quentin Howard, our Reentry Program Manager, and to the right is Mr. Sterling Titus. But the commitment that these graduates have made to transforming their obstacles into opportunities is major when they commit not only to the Office of Reentry Services, but to our signature program, which is what I'd like to get into next. So one way that we support and returning citizens to the workforce is through client education. So our signature program for the Office of Reentry is called the Reentry Career Alliance Academy. We like to use acronyms a lot, so we do say the RCAA, but we don't like to refer to it as a program. We like to refer to it as an experience. So it's a 4-week workforce experience, Tuesday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., where we provide soft skills for those that connect, reentry workforce development. As Amber mentioned, her and I actually connected years ago when we were obtaining our offender workforce development certification. And so our staff, myself and Quinn, Amy was also certified from the National Institute of Corrections in offender workforce development. We also provide a financial literacy component through Day Air Credit Union, resource networking, and that is through 2 to 3 dozen providers that we have that come in and pour into the lives of the citizens that are seeking services. We also have on-site case management. Monica Lofton is our case specialist. We provide resume preparation, and we give our individuals that are connecting with us an opportunity to practice those skills as it relates to interview preparation and support. So they leave us with a updated resume as well as the ability to really answer those hard questions. We also, take pride in our service provider collaboration. As I mentioned, 2 to 3 dozen providers come in and help us with that service. And actually, I don't know, January, here in a second, I'm going to lend to you. I think I can go over a few of these, and what I may miss, you may be able to help me with just in case. But our director employer referrals, with as long as an individual completes successfully the RCAA and submit to a voluntary drug screening. We call it voluntary because individuals have to want to take the drug screen. They can receive a direct referral to an employer champion of ours. So that is one of those carrots where not everyone wants to take the drug screen, and now that our platform of legalization of certain substances are becoming legal now, there may be some challenges with that, but nonetheless we have maintained the drug screen as a part of or a condition to a direct referral to an employer. If an individual chooses not to submit to a drug screen, then they can take the resources that they receive and they can be provided leads, but we will not, build that bridge directly with an employer. Cognitive-based curriculum, the fact that we're holistic in the way that we look at our academy is really important. So, we start off in the first week laying the baseline of action, alliance, and accountability, the interview etiquette. Close that work comes in to provide that service. We also have Mr. Donald Cruz with Cruz Strengths. He comes in and he talks about, they're provided with an assessment, the Strength Finder assessment. And through this, they are able to look at their top 5 strengths. So really looking at base strengths and what they're equipped with already in order to move through the experience. We also look at public health, Dayton, Montgomery County, for substance abuse and behavioral health workshop. These workshops are an hour and a half a piece, and there are 3 workshops a day with half an hour in between these workshops. Our Urban Minority Drug and Alcohol Outreach Program at Dayton, they provide interpersonal relationships, stages of change. Myself and January facilitate that workshop. There's a personal branding and interview strategies workshop conducted by Mr. Titus who's our reentry program coordinator. And then Day Air actually comes in over the 3-week period, one workshop each of the first 3 weeks, where they talk about financial awareness and credit. They also provide our clients with financial awareness, goal setting, and budgeting. And they also provide them with savings and checking information. With that, in addition to that, some of our employers in our community engage with us. DHL, Hormel Plant, Mr. Randy Sheaf comes in and provides Attitude Determines Altitude workshop, strategies for success. That's OHA means jobs, and Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. Then once you land the job, you have to keep the job. So the next, resource is keeping the job. So our reentry staff provides that. And we did have previously a peer educator, someone with lived experience teaching that. Victim awareness, our Montgomery County Prosecutor's Office. They come in and engage in that victim awareness discussion. And social responsibility is provided by Dr. Reverend Alice Diebel. Because social responsibility, everyone and every citizen and individuals we engage with have a social responsibility to their communities. In addition, personal responsibility. Personal responsibility is more, that's provided by Dr. Mike Newsom. And he is one of the directors of our Montgomery County Father. He is the director of Montgomery County Fatherhood Services. Our education providers come in, Sinclair comes in, Miami Valley Career Training Center come in, and then we have like a workshop that talks about the culture of the workspace, and that's Miss Lisa Singh, who is a professional volunteer. We have a legal matters workshop through our Greater Dayton Volunteer Lawyers Project. Family Matters workshop that deals with conflict resolution through the Dayton Mediation Center. Housing education through Miami Valley Fair Housing. Spirituality Matters, Reverend Dr. Alice Depot comes back in to do that. And employment planning strategies is also provided near the end of the end of the 3rd week. So All Means Jobs in RTA, CareSource, they provide that information. And there's information provided on the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. We also provide our clients with that mock interview. And one thing I failed to mention is that during the first 2 weeks, on those first 2 Fridays, we provide a independent individual dress coach session for all of our clients that go over to Close at Work, and they are fitted for their interview attire. They typically wear their interview attire to their graduation ceremony. And then during the last week, we pretty much wrap up the experience with workplace and life safety through our Montgomery County's risk management. And we have a healthy habits workshop with public health from Dayton, Montgomery County. And then we culminate in a formal graduation ceremony, which we had a wonderful graduation ceremony this morning. I should have invited you all, that you have an open invitation to our graduation ceremonies. And we have 9 cohorts a year, where we just graduated our 4th cohort. So we have 5 more graduations that we're looking to celebrate between now and the end of the year. And we do have that 2024 schedule available for those that would be interested. And so, as I mentioned, it is holistic. I wanted to take the time to really unpack what the experience entails, because I believe that it's important that you understand the magnitude and the knowledge and resources and networking that's happening in a short amount of time, but it's a wealth of knowledge. January, is there anything else that I'm missing?
When it comes to the RCAA and the curriculum and workshops, I think that you have pretty well covered it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, January. But you know, January is on site. January and Sterling are on site daily, along with Monica Lofton managing the immediate needs of our clients, because when we talk about our mission is to minimize barriers to reentry, those barriers come as soon as individuals walk in the door. So we want to minimize that so that their experience is fruitful, is very meaningful. One of the barriers could be transportation, so we do provide that daily bus pass. Um, some of the other challenges may be, need for just general clothing just to get back and forth, or food. So those referrals are made. We do have some resources for some gift cards for clothing and food and things of that nature that may be able to help an individual through their challenge. And so beyond the academy, because the academy is really our signature program, we do have several other services and initiatives that we offer in the Office of Reentry. And so besides the academy, which I just mentioned, there's the Eichelberger Prison Outreach Program. And of course, January and Sterling, they pretty much are the key players in going into the prisons throughout the state of Ohio to connect with those citizens returning to our 5 service county area. Our Eichelberger Prison Outreach Program, as well as our Reentry Career Alliance Academy, are both have both received national awards. So they have both received NACO, which is National Association of Counties, awards, and so we're very proud of that. Not only that, housing is one of those barriers that we may seek, that individuals may face. Excuse me. But at the end of successfully completing the RCAA, there's an opportunity for our clients to connect to move-in assistance. So our move-in assistance program provides a one-time $500 move-in assistance that will help defray the cost of moving in for a lease, a new lease, or utilities. And it really helps to minimize those barriers once an individual is connected to employment, receiving income, able to choose, where they want to live in the community. That's one less thing they have to worry about, is having all of that first month deposit and rent. So also, another program that we have offered in the past that we seek to continue to offer here probably in the next year or so is our REACH program. That's our Entrepreneurship Redefined program. So this is a 6-week program. We have a consultant that works specifically with our RCA graduates that have entrepreneurial interest. Once they go through their 6-week process, they typically have their business plan, and they were able to pitch their ideas. If they're building if it's a new idea for them, in a pilot pitch competition. So we've had individuals that have been able to win prize money as a result of the success of what they've accomplished through the REACH program. Amy was very instrumental on that. She's on this call in development of what that, the framework of that. And then when she transitioned to Debbie Lieberman, Commissioner Debbie Lieberman's office, I assumed that, and Amber was a part of that. Amber Twitty was a part of assisting our clients during that process as well. So I'd like to thank her for her contribution to that. We also have a Montgomery County Reentry Collaborative, and our Reentry Collaborative consists of several providers. Not only Montgomery County, we're expanding to our service county area, but we meet on a bi-monthly basis. We come together not only to network, to educate one another, to provide training, and to even build creative funding strategies, to work with one another. And so that we had our last meeting in April. Our next meeting will be in June. Look forward to, whoever would like to join us there. That our next meeting is on employment and housing, and it will be a virtual meeting. So, and lastly, we do have several volunteer opportunities. So our volunteer coordinator, resource navigator, her name is Pedro Galinsky. She connects with individuals that want to help us carry out our mission. So we have several volunteers, professional volunteers on our Reentry Council. I'll be talking about the Reentry Council here shortly. Several volunteers on our Reentry Collaborative, volunteers that engage in our academy, volunteers that also engage on the various subcommittees of the Reentry Council, and those that come in the office and provide us with services as well. And we like to encourage every individual that comes through our doors through the Reentry Career Alliance Academy to give back. And by giving back, they can also volunteer as well. So supporting returning citizens to the workforce, we talked about client education first. And client education, not only through the academy, but also our programs and services. We also, feel it is important is advocacy and support. And we do that by way of our Montgomery County Reentry Council. Our employment subcommittee, our co-chairs are Linda Ashworth and Sylvie Stewart. And the purpose statement is to increase the number of employment prospects to meet the needs of both returning citizens and employers. So our council consists of 6 subcommittee focuses. And so it consists of employment, public education, housing, legal, women in reentry, and community and family engagement. And today with us, we do have one of our women in reentry subcommittee co-chairs, Miss Amy Piner, who is assistant to Commissioner Debbie Lieberman. So welcome, Amy. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And a little bit about the women, the current focuses of the Women in Reentry Subcommittee.
Sure. So I know Jamie shared some of the information that would be about my background. Of course, having been a former member of the team with the Office of Reentry as a program coordinator, and I was involved some with the Women in Reentry in that role, but really became more heavily involved once I transitioned into this role. Reentry is one of the priority focus areas for Commissioner Lieberman, and so she really started her passion was really ignited along or at the encouragement of Judge Rice several years ago when she first became a commissioner, and she's been with it. She's been on board ever since. So we love having that support. Not only does she bring it to us here at Montgomery County, but also by her involvement in the Counties Association for the state of Ohio, and then also the National Association of Counties. So then that lets us know that our message gets taken across the state and across the country. So we're grateful for that. We do know that we're the leaders in the field when it comes to reentry efforts, and so we love to boast and brag about that. And so with Women in Reentry, we sort of took the baton from the former co-chairs and really tried to pick up where they left off. And so to that extent, I think most of our strategy recently has been around how do we really get women who have been involved in the criminal justice system engaged, not just engaged in the academy, but how do we get their voices in the community? How do we do things that matter and make a difference? And so that's what we've really focused on. And so after, I think, several different attempts at it, I feel like we had a really good session last week with our women in reentry, a combination of former graduates from the academy as well, former now as of today, with some of the ones that were in the current cohort last week. And it was just a really good session. I was encouraged by the fact that we offered up our meeting date for the month of June, and it just seemed like everybody was eager to continue the conversation. There was just a vibe and spirit in the room that I think people really took part in, and it showed us that we know that social connection among women in this, not just in this realm, but just in general, is really important and is valuable and is needed. So hopefully we're on to something, and we'll use that to really identify some specific activities and events that we think could be of interest. And not just that we've sat and thought of, but that the voices that are involved have actually told us this is what we'd like to do. So that's where we're really putting a lot of our focus, that and getting the stories of women out there. So we want to create some platforms that where women can share their story. I think that's supportive in and of itself for other women that are walking that path and need to know that there's somebody that's gone there before you, and that you're not alone. A lot of times we know that in so many settings, and it just makes it so much easier. So hopefully that kind of covers what you envision, Jamie. But yeah, we're excited about the work we're doing with the Women in Reentry Subcommittee.
Thank you so much, Amy. Montgomery County not only values women in reentry career field, but also lived experience of women in reentry who have lived experience in the system. And let me go to the
Jamie, you're on mute.
Jamie, you muted yourself.
I have to repeat everything I just said, right? So I'm sorry about that. But nonetheless, thank you, Amy, for sharing that with everyone. Montgomery County not only values women in the reentry field, but also those with lived experience in the criminal justice system. January represents that today. As we talk about our strategies in supporting returning citizens to the workforce, employer education and training is one of our strategies. And really promoting these hiring tools and incentives that really assist individuals in this area by connecting them to not only civic, trade service groups, but helping their members to really understand the value of incentives, these hiring incentives for returning citizens. And this is done through the Certificate of Qualification for Employment. We call it the CQE, the Certificate of Achievement and Employability, that's the CAE, Federal Bonding Program, and the Work Opportunity Tax Credit. And I'd like to take a moment to allow January to speak on the CQE, and if you'd like to speak on some of the other items, that's fine. But specifically, I definitely want you to touch on the CQE and how that was instrumental for you.
Absolutely, thank you. So what is a CQE? A CQE is a Certificate of Qualification for Employment. A CQE is a certificate which aids in removing barriers to employment or licensing in the state of Ohio for individuals who are subject to a civil impact prior criminal conviction granted from the Common Pleas Court. So how the process works, there's a link and one can type in CQE Ohio and it'll pop up. There is a 15-page application process, so it can get a little daunting to some people. So we are willing to assist our returning citizens with that process once they become eligible to apply for a CQE. And essentially what they are doing is petitioning to the state of Ohio. So this is going to be specific to criminal convictions in the state of Ohio. They are petitioning to Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections, and they're saying, hey, my life has changed, and here is the evidence that my life has changed. So it is going to require that one has satisfied all legal requirements, and it is going to require that there is some evidence of a restoration process in effect. So some volunteer hours, letters of character references, letters of support, and or furthering education. It's going to look different for each individual, but they're going to want to present as much as they can that says, you know, there's a little bit more to their story than just time and distance between them and their release from incarceration. Once they petition the state of Ohio and the state of Ohio approves, then the process will continue. The petitioner will receive the information back via email saying, hey, you're approved. You can take this and file it down at the Common Pleas Court in the county that you reside. So it is not going to be specific to where you where you were convicted of the offense. It's going to be determined by the county that you reside in, and you will take and file that with the Common Pleas Court. There is some filing forms for one who may not have the funds to pay for the filing. Otherwise, there is a small fee attached to filing that. And then once it moves through the Common Pleas Court, the certificate will either be approved and sent via an email. Sometimes a court date is scheduled, and the individual would have to come back through the Common Pleas Court for a brief appearance in front of the judge for the certificate to be granted, or there are other times where it may also be denied for various other reasons. Once a person when a person decides that they want to apply for a CQE, what would make them decide that they want to? There needs to be some kind of barrier that is attached to a collateral sanction, which is going to be a barrier that has an Ohio Revised Code attached to it. So CQEs are going to primarily be seen and used in an area where there is a professional license that is attached, whether it may be a nursing license, the CDLs or barber license. For me specifically, I used mine to petition the Family and Social Worker Board in Ohio. It is a little more stringent than the board that I was already licensed through. So I went ahead and filed for that. I was also, despite being a state licensed counselor, despite already being employed and having a Medicaid billing number, I was still denied employment at a local treatment facility. And the only real reason that they were giving me was, hey, it's something to do with your background. They didn't have any specifics. They didn't have any time frames. They didn't have any, whether it was like an indefinite exclusion from their place of employment. They just said, the one piece of hope that they offered was, hey, you can go check out the CQE certificate. So I took that, I did what they suggested, and I was granted the certificate. I did not go back to that place for part-time employment. However, when it was time for internship, I did circle back to them and went back through their background process, used the CQE as they had suggested, and I was accepted and onboarded for an internship position with their company. So there are no guarantees, there are no promises that the CQE is going to do anything for anyone. However, the more that we educate and people are understanding and employers are understanding what it means for them, the more success that people are finding with the certificate, because what does it do for the employer? Well, it removes the negligent hiring on their behalf. So if there is an Ohio Revised Code that says you cannot work here because of past criminal conviction, but the employer says, but we really like you and we really want you to come here and work for us. The CQE gives them that power and that choice back. It gives them that discretionary hiring to allow for, second and fair chances to happen in the workplace and to give people opportunities, and without them having any kind of liability attached to the opportunity. So it's really empowering for employers to have that choice and that right back when they would like to, without fear of any kind of repercussions for them, being one of the employers out there that are willing to take that risk and to kind of lead that path forward for returning citizens and for people such as myself as well. Jamie, is there something else that I'm missing on that subject matter that I should cover?
I
No,
think
you covered
that's
it very well.
yeah, you covered it very well.
Okay.
Absolutely. And then,
Can
you
you
know,
can you briefly go over the CAEs?
so the Certificate of Achievement and Employability provides that same protection to the employer as it relates to negligent hiring as the CQE, but the process and when an individual can begin to seek a CAE typically happens prior to their release. A CQE happens after release. A CAE can occur prior to release. There are specific criteria as it relates to, may relate to volunteer service, community service that they have to do while they're incarcerated, cognitive-based programming that needs to be completed. It may be thinking for a change. It could be anger management, things of that nature. It could be also that advanced job training. And just as January mentioned, prior to her release, she connected with Sinclair. So being able to receive an AJT program from Sinclair allows them to, once they begin to develop what's necessary, the components, then they can apply for this prior to their release. It then goes to the director of ODRC of the state of Ohio for review. And if eligible, the individual will then be approved. So on the ODRC website, you will see there is a list of qualified CQE holders. So if you're seeking, whether a person has a CQE, you can go to the ODRC site. I don't know that there's the CAEs are listed on there. And if not, that's something that we probably need to seek to have those as well. But they receive for those with the CAE, they receive that approval and certificate directly from the director of ODRC. So it's a little different. The process is different. The other tools, as mentioned, in employer education or the federal bonding program, for those that helps to mitigate that risk to employers that may feel, let's say someone is working with tools or working with, just any type of, products that if they were to either take from the company or to tools were to, be lost, stolen, whatever the case may be, that's kind of that insurance to employers. So federal bonding program is available for eligible candidates. And I do have some resources at the end of this PowerPoint. And if you make this available, individuals can click on those links to get information to what I'm talking about throughout this presentation, as well as the work opportunity tax credit as well.
I have a question. Do you all ever use on-the-job training when working with employers, which is I'm talking about the one, not the construction one, but the one that's with Jobs and Family Services, where an employer can get reimbursement up to a certain amount for a new employee. Do you use that? You're on mute, Jamie.
The OJT program is made, our candidates are made aware that it is available through Ohio Means Jobs. We, as an Office of Reentry, probably underutilize that option quite a bit, and we need to probably utilize that more. I will say that, but we are aware of it. We do know that it exists. I know that prior to us developing the academy, we had a direct referral agreement with Delphi, which was a company up in Vandalia, that company is no longer there. It's actually transitioned to another location, and it's called either Mahle, Mahle. But when we did that pilot project with them, they were seeking to utilize that program, OJT. We didn't quite solidify that, but nonetheless, it can be a benefit to employers to help them with their bottom line. So I know we're getting
And
close to
that
the
makes it less risky, right? And so
absolutely.
one of the things that I tell employers when working with them, I talk about the programs you just discussed, but we're coming from here are benefits in Ohio that can help your business, right? And we kind of tack that onto our workforce development programming. So as we're giving you some supports on that side, here are some things on the business side for your small business to make it less risky,
Absolutely.
keep your overhead down, things like that. So that's how we kind of pitch the benefits of hiring someone that's a returning citizen,
Yes.
because when you have an office of reentry or another group that's in that space, you all in essence become that employee assistance program, right? Because if they're
Mhm.
coming through your doors in training, they got that extra support. And even after the programming, they still have your support. So that really keeps retention numbers up. Um, they're more screened than anybody because you've done all these
Right.
assessments. So you actually know more about a return citizen and their skill set than you do someone just coming off of the streets, right? Coming through
Hmm.
your job portal. So those are some of the things that I try to communicate and also let them know about all those different incentives, because as long as they have been around, most businesses still don't know about.
Right. Right. I appreciate you mentioning that. Um, I think I had a few slides, but I don't know that we can get
Oh,
to
no, go
them.
ahead. Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. All right. I want to make sure. Um, the
Yeah,
employer
we're
education
gonna
and
give you extra time.
thank you so much, Amber. So the Ohio Governor's Expedited Pardon Project, providing a path forward. As you see here, an expedited pardon project applicant said, "I want to have a positive impact on the world around me, and I do not want my record to get in the way of that." A lot of our clients don't necessarily qualify that. You have to be free of any reoffending, any free of your sentence and all that for at least a 10-year period. But there is a clinic that University of Dayton offers that helps individuals through this process, because it can be a lengthy process. And so it helps to expand not only career horizons, restoring rights, obtaining higher education, accessing, volunteer opportunities, removing those barriers to licensing, affirming positive life changes that they have made. So this is also an opportunity through the Ohio Governor's Office for expedited pardon. As a matter of fact, I got a request from a young lady yesterday for a letter of recommendation for this. Something's going on here. It doesn't let me forward my slides. So supporting returning citizens as far as employer engagement, this is the reverse job fair. The photograph that you see here And one of the things that jumped out to me, because I wasn't there this particular day when this event occurred recently, but is the gentleman in uniform. Okay, so the gentleman in uniform at the desk to the right there in the middle of the room is talking to one of our Reentry Career Alliance Academy graduates in the suit. Okay, and so you see individuals around the room. Those employers came to meet with our graduates, and that's what a reverse job fair is. Not the employers come to meet with them. Our candidates set up with their resumes on their, their table portals along with their top 5 strengths from their Strength Finder assessment, and they're able to engage and provide information to the employer, and the employer spends that time walking around the room engaging with our clients. Imagine getting those job offers and having to choose where you want to work, after you leave an event like this. But nonetheless, it's one that works and one that we have built into our curriculum because we want to increase our direct links to employment through our program. And so we do this on a quarterly basis. We also meet with employers directly, and the mock interview is a part of our built-in process of partnerships. So these are some of the employers that engage in our last fair, and that we've engaged with as far as Second Chance, or as January mentioned, Fair Chance employment. So Belflex, FedEx, Gem City Tire, PacRite, DHL, Food Bank, Brenner's, Lawn and Services, Belton Food, Second Chance Staffing, all these areas. We included Montgomery County. We're a Second Chance hire. We have 3 individuals on our staff that have lived experience in the criminal justice system. But when you look at that, it's broad, and every time that we meet, we broaden this list to a new sector of different employers. So it definitely works. One of the things that we have been this is the tracking from last year, because we knew we had to put something in place. And this is why the reverse job fair has been so successful, is because last year, I think we may have done one. It was near the end of the year, but nonetheless, we've been able to do 2 already. We're probably seeking another opportunity. But these are the direct placements. Direct placements meaning through our office of those that have completely finished the academy successfully. So 49.5%. We want to increase that. That doesn't mean that individuals don't take what they receive from the academy and then go to choose and to find their own positions outside. But these are direct referrals that we can verify that we're linked directly through our office. And so our goal is to really increase this year in that area. So, and Mr. Quinn Howard, and actually, Amber, you're on the employment subcommittee, as well as the legal subcommittee. You really assist us in 2 areas. So thank you for your commitment to the work that our employment subcommittee is doing in this area. So this statistic has changed. We just had a graduation this morning. We had one in April, so we'll update these statistics. So we've served over 900 graduates at this point. But for those that served from 2015 February to 2024, that totally completed the 4-week experience, we've served over 900 graduates, and 91% of those graduates do not return to prison or commit or a new offense after we've connected with them. So that's a 9% post-program prison commitment rate. And we find that to be very successful, but it can't be done without the commitment of those that come through the program that are dedicating themselves to a life crime-free. Okay. Nearing the end here, these are just a couple of quotes, and Commissioner Debbie Lieberman is at the top. when she really talks about our county strategy around our returning citizens as far one of our best investments in people. Um, and as George Bush mentioned, you know, when he was in office, America is the land of the second chance. So when those gates of the prison are open, the path ahead should lead to a better life. And I think we can all agree upon that. And that, you know, anonymously, every moment in life is a second chance. And so as we move forward, we encourage individuals that we speak to our audiences. The last time we did this presentation was to our Workforce Investment Board in Montgomery County. Become a champion within your organization to support those second chances for returning citizens. Join our Reentry Council, our subcommittees. We just talked about them, and if anyone is interested in wanting to get to know what those are and the Reentry Collaborative is, please contact me here at the office, and I'll provide the contact information here in a second. Attend the Reentry Career Alliance Academy graduation, because there's nothing better than seeing the end result of someone having gone through their experience and seeing the impact it's had, and knowing that they've committed to their success beyond the academy. And then also participating in a reverse job fair or observing it, being a part of it. Also, as a mock interview, a navigator to help educate our clients, practice that, being able to answer those difficult questions that may come through an interview and being successful beyond the academy experience. So we really encourage individuals to commit to our reentry ambassador concept. So this is information. Myself and Quinn Howard, program manager, Mr. Howard, and myself, community manager, we report directly to Haley Coretta. She is our director of the Office of Strategic Initiatives. We are located here in the Job Center, Montgomery County Job Center. We do have 2 locations within this building. So we have our general offices, which is in Suite 370 on the 1133 side of the building. And then the 1111 side of the building, we have our Reentry Training Center. And that's where the magic happens. That's where the academy happens. That's where we have our computer lab. And anybody that wants to walk in, we provide walk-in services every day. So these resources will be available. Amber, you have this PowerPoint. So as you click on these resources, information about our office, CQE workbook, information about arrests, resources for job seekers, employer benefits of the CQE, the Pardon Project, disqualifying offenses for those who cannot qualify. And then Second Chance Month, I really wanted to share that as to what Biden's position is on second chances. And so we appreciate the opportunity to be able to share this with you all. 10 minutes over, not bad at all. But nonetheless,
Well, it's good information, right? And so
it is.
and it's updated information, and you also show the impact and just proved why I'm always bragging on you guys. And I'm in Hamilton County, right? But I don't care where in the state I am, I'm always talking about you guys. So
Thank
one
you
of the
so
things
much.
that I wanted to give you as a reference to Donna Kuykendall. She is in your region, and she's on our family and consumer sciences team. So she does a lot with when you're talking about some of the health and wellness things and healthy, even down to nutrition, like healthy ways to eat on a budget and things like that. So she's an excellent presenter. She thinks outside the box. So I'll make sure that I'll hook you, introduce you guys by email formally. But I put her name in the chat so that you all can have that. And that'll be another resource. So she's in extension. She's just on a different team. And then as we talked before about the REACH program, that was one of my favorite programs. And so when you do it, yes, I'm there again. So you just let me know. And one of the things I want to say, just to show the impact, in 6 weeks through that program, the cohort that I helped with, they all gave pitches of their business ideas, right? And they did so well that the judging committee, we were wondering, like, why is it taking so long? They literally raised additional monies while they were deliberating on who the winner was. So instead of one person getting seed money for their business, all three of them got it. And then within the next month, working with the facilitator, they all incorporated their businesses in Ohio, and then they started working on their growth plan, their sustainability planning, one-on-one with that facilitator. So I look forward to that project getting funded again, but I just wanted to
Yes.
talk about the impact of that program. So in 2 months' time, they went from just a general idea, having developed a concept and pitch, and then they started their growth planning, right? And they're all successful business. This has been 2 years now, and they're all still in business. So, and still doing excellent work. So, kudos to that. And that just shows that follow up and dedication. Um, and they still call me periodically, let me know how they're doing. And so, but that's a testament to how, when you impact people, you never know, but you got to be authentic, right? And so
Yes.
it's just good I brag on them too. And so I'm trying to get it duplicated down here in Cincinnati, but we'll talk about that too.
Okay.
But just wanted to say that, and Miss Amy, thank you for sharing an update on your programming, and let us know as a team how we can support you in those efforts as well. Um, and
Thank you.
Ambrose, I'm going to put this out here because you are part of that Southwest region. So I hope that you will consider joining those subcommittees, do a lot of impactful work through those committees, and just it's very important work, it's very impactful work. That's best I could say without going on and on about it. January, always thank you for sharing your stories, your testimonies, because that authenticity, you are a walking testament of persevering and being successful. And it's like, look at me now, right? Look at me now. And you come on too, so you can say, look at me now, right? And so just want to give you all your flowers because I see your work, and I want to formally recognize that. Ambrose, do you have any questions or
Uh,
comments?
no questions at this time, but I just want to thank you all for sharing. This has been quite a bit of information, explanation, a lot of good insight into the program and the organization that you have, but also in terms of the sort of the concepts and the processes in general there that other parts of the state, parts of the country can sort of look at and maybe pattern some things after as they look to address some of these same issues. So I do want to thank you for sharing that. It was quite a bit. Thank you.
I think this is the only segment where Ambrose didn't have a question.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And this is one of his areas of specialty. So,
Oh. Well,
um,
everything got answered. All the questions
yeah.
got answered. I didn't have to.
Thank you so much. One of the things I failed to mention that, after a person goes through their academy experience is Amy's office, Commissioner Lieberman's office, the commissioner's office. They provide a proclamation for each one of our successful graduates and their commitment and continuation of support beyond the academy experience, and a passport, and we call it a career passport. So it has all their resume, their information, certificates from different providers. So they end up with a portfolio that they can, share, and that can keep on giving beyond the academy experience. So
That's awesome. So do you, Amy and January and Jamie, do you all have any final comments that you like to make?
I just want to thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it very, very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
We
I
thank
echo that.
you for the opportunity. So we see it as you all giving us the opportunity to share, because one of our main things is to get the word out on the different resources available and letting them know how to navigate different spaces. Because with government and just all that bureaucracy, people can easily get frustrated and just say forget it, right? So now you know that you're not alone. To me, this is like the old citizen circles back in the day reinvented, right? So just want to say thank you again for joining us today. And our next segment next week, we will have the Honorable Judge Janaea Tratter Bratton, and she's Hamilton County Municipal Court, but she has a special docket for those who are human victims of human trafficking, and it's a workforce development initiative that she's just inherited that special docket. So in addition to all the good things she does just in her regular docket, she will be talking about that. So I hope that you all can join us next week with that. And without further ado, this ends our session on CED Office Hour Live, and our next segment in the series, Women in Reentry. So thank you for being awesome women in reentry and doing your thing, your boss ladies. We appreciate you, and we will see you all next week.
All right. Thank you so much.